Hello, and welcome back to the Kid Code Project. We are now on video 7, working with components. In the previous video, we worked with labels, buttons, and text boxes. Now we're going to work with some components that really help us guide the users. And here's what I mean. Even though you know how your program works, and I know how my program works, the users don't. And we have to give them a way to use it that is straightforward without confusing them, and also without them messing up what we're trying to do, because users will find a way to mess things up just naturally. It happens, trust me, it won't happen again. Alright, so we're back on the same form. We are still using the controls program we created in the last video, and I'm going to kind of move these out of the way. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the text of this label to be more useful for the purpose here, because we are going to be working with, check my notes, checkboxes, radio buttons. How far should we go on this one? And group boxes. That's what we'll do. Checkboxes, radio buttons, and group boxes. Alright. Let's change it to something like this. How, oops, I like all caps. How much lengths would you like to have? I'm going to move these out of the way because you can see that all of the text that I typed is not showing up, so I'm going to drag this down. There. Now it shows up. Now I'm going to make this smaller to get out of the way, and to make our form look kind of professional, kind of move it over here like this, using the alignment lines. I'm going to bring this down. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put checkboxes in. If you haven't noticed already, all of the tools in the toolbox are actually alphabetical, right? So check is up here in the C's. Let's drag a checkbox. And there's a checkbox. You'll see it's got a box here, and the name of the first checkbox, like everything else, the first label is label 1, the first text box is text box 1, first checkbox is checkbox 1. We could drag more, or we can just copy it, paste it, paste it. How many are we going to do? Let's just do 3. Okay. Checkbox 1, checkbox 2. Let's get everything in line. Now, what you want to do with a checkbox is you want to give the user the ability to click on the box to make a selection, right? And then to do that, what we do, let's change the text to make sense. Our question was, is how much allowance would you like to have? Let's make the first one $5. Okay? Let's make the next one $10. Of course, asking somebody how much allowance they want is kind of a silly thing, because they would want to know where the $1 million box was. I would. Okay. There. So now let's just run it real quick. F5 for debug. Okay. And basically we have a label that says how much allowance would you like to have, and they can select 5 or 10 or 15 or all of them at the same time, just like it shows here. They're all checked now. So I guess they would get $30, right? 15 plus 10 is 25 plus 5 is 30, right? If you click it again, it's unchecked, right? Checked, unchecked, checked, unchecked, checked, unchecked. Okay, that's how it works. With checkboxes, the users can make more than one selection in any combination they want. For example, let's just copy these. Oops. Come on, Greg. Yeah, I don't want to do it that way. Waste time. For the application of how much allowance you want, a checkbox may not make sense. You can see why, right? They can select more than one. But what if we had a checkbox that was used for ordering pizza, and you can give them the option of extra cheese or bacon. They can add bacon, and they can add mushrooms. I mean, you can go on and on and on with pizza, because you can add anything to pizza. Now, if you press F5, it kind of make sense. Ignore this right now. Let's just imagine this says, what would you like on your pizza? And they can select extra cheese, bacon, and mushrooms. No, I don't want mushrooms. Okay. So they could place the order that way because you can have extra cheese and bacon together. Now, with that said, this doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Because they can make more than one selection, which could kind of backfire because, at most you would think, well, if they click here, they can get $15. Well, no, it's a checkbox. They can click them all. That is what a radio button is for. And let me bring a radio button. Remember, it's in alphabetical order. Radio button. Let's drop it right there. It looks similar to a checkbox, but instead of being a square, it has a circle, like a button. So let's copy, paste it onto here, paste it, and just like everything else, it's numbered. Radio button 1, 2, 3. We can change the names if we want to, but for right now, I think you already understand how to do that. Let's change it to be $5, just like this one over here. $10. $15. The exact same text is here as is here, but let's press F5 to debug run it. If we gave them how much allowance would you like to have, if we gave them the option as a checkbox, remember they can select more than one. Doesn't make sense. With the radio button, they can only select one. See, if they click 5, fine, but if they then click 10, 5 is now automatically unchecked. If they click 15, 10 is unchecked. With a radio button, only one can be pressed at a time. And that is the way radios used to work a long time ago. You pushed a button and everything would move on the dial. And this is what radio buttons are for. It only allows the users to make one selection, where a combo box lets them take multiple selections. Okay? But there's a problem. What if, let's get rid of this real quick. I'm going to delete these because this kind of makes more sense now to us. Let's move this over here. Now I'm going to paste the label, but I'm going to change the text. Okay, and I'm going to put, how tall are you? Okay. Make everything fit pretty. I'm actually going to make this a little bigger so everything fits. Center that up somewhat. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in more radio buttons. Okay. I'm going to put these here. Paste. Let's change the text to say under 4 feet. And we can put this one at over 4. Oops. Make it look consistent. Under 4 feet, over 4 feet. Okay? So now we can say, how much allowance would you like to have? They can only make one selection. And then we ask, how tall are you? And they can only make one selection. Right? What do you think is going to happen? Let's see. Okay, so the user goes, how much allowance would you like to have? Well, of course, I'd like to have $15. How tall are you? Well, I'm over 4 feet. Do you see the problem? When I clicked on over 4 feet, this radio button became checked and our $15 became unchecked. Let's click on $15 again. This is now unchecked. Here's why. Radio buttons work as groups together. So if you put multiple radio button groups on a single form, the compiler thinks they're all part of the same group, just different places. So now you can only make one selection. You're either under or over 4 feet tall, or you get an allowance. Doesn't work. That is what we need group boxes for. Here's a group box. I'm going to drag it over here. Now what a group box does is it groups things. Duh, no joke. Okay, now I'm going to move this so we can work with it. Okay, and I'm going to bring the group box in. A group box has handles that looks normal to things you've used so far. Now, a group box has a title, so instead of using this label right here, we can actually change the text here to have the exact same question. How tall are you? It's not very big. We can change the properties of the font just like we could before. Let's make it 14. Let's make it bold so it's easier to see. And since we have this, we no longer need this label. Let's get rid of it. Let's open this up. Now to use a group box, all you have to do is take the controls components, tools that you want to use in that group box, and you just drag it into it and you drop it. Okay? Now did you notice that the text of the controls changed to match the text of the group box? It keeps things consistent. But if you don't want to keep it that way, I'm going to make this kind of even. If you don't want to keep it that way, all you have to do is select it again and change the font back. And let's make it smaller. Let's make it 10. Okay? And let's make this one 10 and not bold. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is since we took these radio buttons and put them inside of this group box, the compiler will now treat this group of radio buttons as one group and this group of radio buttons as a different group. So we don't have the problem anymore of either getting allowance or being tall. Okay, F5 to run it. Okay, let's do it again. How much allowance would you like to have? $15. Thank you. How tall are you? I am over 4 feet. The problem solved. See? They can still make that selection for the allowance using this group, and they can make the selection of their height by using this group. Okay? That's the use of radio buttons, checkboxes we used before, and group boxes. That's how they work. It's that simple. In later videos, I'll show you how to write code to get the information that the user's entered. But for now, understand that you can use these components for this. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, in the beginning, it's easy to not know which one to use, a checkbox or a radio button. And it can be kind of confusing, but here's the easiest way to remember it. If the user should be able to make more than one selection from a list, checkbox. If they shouldn't be able to make more than one selection from a list, radio button. For example, are you a mammal or are you a fish? That would be a radio button because you can't be both. What do you like to eat? Pizza, hamburgers, hot dogs. That would be a checkbox because people like to eat more than one thing, right? That's how it works. Pretty straightforward, huh? Okay, this is the end of the video. I want to again thank you guys so very much for subscribing and all the likes you've been posting below. It makes all of this worthwhile. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below and I will address them in upcoming videos. And I will catch you next time.